Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dknows, the fantasy guru, and we're back. Week 4 is in the books. How's your fantasy team looking? Has it gone to shit yet? Do you happen to have one of the injured players on your squad? Do you have someone who's not producing? So many topics, so many things to discuss. I'll give it a few minutes and see if anybody wants to jump onto the show with me. I don't really have a format tonight. I just wanted to recap the events that took place in week 4 and discuss possible waiver wire pickups. Depending on the size of your league, it could be razor thin. Razor thin for those of you that are in leagues that are more than 12 to 14 teams. So I'll give it a few minutes. I'll be right back, and then we'll jump right into it. All right, welcome back. So, it is now week 4. We're at the quarter mark of the fantasy season. And as what I like to call it, the cream that separates from the corn, aka bye weeks. You will not have your full assortment of players. So this is when those with skill show skill and will and survive through the bye weeks. With the slew of injuries that we've been presented with, this year is going to be quite challenging. Let me get my shit up here. And we will begin. I don't like this view. Let's switch this up. I think I did this last time. Let's switch this. There we go. You don't need to see me. You need to see the content. But welcome to those who've joined the show. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and share. If you wouldn't mind, it would be so kindly if you could hit the like button. It's free of charge, no tax. So, what do we have to discuss about week 4? Well, obviously, there's been devastating injuries. Tyreek Hill out for the season as of last night. And the irony of it is he actually was having a good game. He was actually producing. And I feel bad for those who needed a few points last night to win your matchups. I hope he got you enough before his exit. Something else to note, I've never seen a man smile and clap after a devastating injury and his season's ending. I found that weird. I don't know if it was just me or was it you, but the shit was kind of weird. But unless they gave him some really good drugs that we couldn't see, where he was just happy and didn't feel shit. But I did hear that the MRIs went well. There was no severe structural damage. He will have surgery, and he should be back in the 2026 season. I'm not sure if he'll lose a step, but good luck to you, Tyreek, as you go into surgery and recovery. Another injury that's going to shake up the fantasy world, obviously, is Malik Neighbors. Weird play. I was actually watching that game, and it's just like a simple, fly route. Moon ball goes up. He's going up with the defender for the ball, and then he comes down and doesn't get back up. Another ACL and another injury at the fucking Meadowlands. I think that stadium is hexed or cursed or whatever. They need to bring in some sage, a couple rabbit's foots, maybe a billy goat. You're going to have to do something because this turf keeps claiming people. It got Saquon. It got Aaron Rodgers. Now Malik Neighbors. Beckham. Like, the list goes on a litany of players that have met their demise in the Meadowlands turf. So I think they should pull that bullshit up and just start over. Malik Neighbors is out for this season. Let me backtrack. I got a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go back to Tyreek. So with the injury to Tyreek Hill, this does present an opportunity for Jalen Waddle to get more volume. However, I wouldn't hold my breath. In my opinion, Jalen Waddle is not a number one. He's a bit flimsy. He's just as injury prone as most slot receivers. I don't think he can handle that amount of volume. I do expect Devon A-Chain to volume to increase drastically, as if he wasn't getting enough volume as it is. So the paint isn't dry on what the Dolphins will do to compensate for Tyreek's absence. However, waiver wires are tonight. I know I'm kind of jumping around again. This is just me this is me free balling it. Pause. I don't have an agenda for today, but check those depth charts, man. I know I believe Washington was the other receiver that was out there last night. He looked pretty good. He's obviously, his targets are going to increase. You may look to add him as a depth play on your waiver wire pickups, because I know that the waiver wires are thin with all the injuries we've witnessed in the first 4 weeks of the season. There isn't really much out there to get. And if it is, I'll be shocked if they're still available. But going back to the Giants for a second, Jackson Dart made his appearance, his first start. For those who own Tyrone Tracy, I'm sorry. I think Scatterboo may have taken that job. Scatterboo did look very, very good again for the second week. No Tracy. I'm not sure he's going to make it back this week. He may be out for another week or two. Devin Singletary did take the third down duties. Not very impressive. Like I'm shocked. He wasn't really doing much before the injury, so I wouldn't expect much out of him. Actually, I did pick him up in a couple of leagues. Just took a flyer just to see what would happen. Maybe he catch screen pass and take it to the house. That didn't happen. I think Scatterboo has the lock on that position. As far as the Giants wide receivers, I know a lot of you picked up Wan'Dale Robinson after that huge week 1 performance. I believe he had 8 catches, over 100 yards, and I believe a touchdown. Expect his volume to increase. Again, he's a slot guy. But take that with a grain of salt. I did not expect Jackson Dart to run as much as he did. He ran a fucking lot. He will definitely be vulturing some touchdowns from Scatterboo. So if you are a Scatterboo owner, I would lower your expectations. He could steal some goal line work. He basically did just this past weekend. So there's something to note. Moving on, Lamar Jackson. Ouch. There's a lot to unpack here when it comes to Lamar Jackson. We've all been waiting patiently for Lamar to reach Mount Everest and claim his Super Bowl championship ring. A lot of folks assumed that this year would be the year, especially after Derrick Henry was signed last year. But from my experience, it seems like Jackson just does not show up in the big games. Now, for whatever reason, I'm not here to discuss that. I'm here to talk about fantasy. His fantasy production has been solid this year, as it always is. However, now there's an injury. It's a hamstring. Now, I wouldn't make that big of a deal with this particular injury because he hasn't been running as much. Actually, the last 2 seasons, Jackson's run percentage has dipped, which is good because you want to prevent the big hits. You want to prevent the injuries. So I wouldn't necessarily panic if you are a Jackson owner. If you've drafted well, you have a serviceable backup that you can plug and play, and your production should not drop off too much with Jackson being on the shelf for a few weeks. Now, if I had to say a timeline on the injury, 2 weeks, 4 max. I can't see it going past 4 weeks. I do know hamstrings are very, 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 very finicky and fragile. So the paint, again, isn't dry on Lamar Jackson's injury situation. Cooper Rush will get the start for the Ravens. Can't quite say the Ravens season's over, but it's bleak. It's just as bleak as the next person, Jamar Chase. We all saw go number 1 overall on a lot of draft boards, including me, who somehow in a 14-team league got him at the number 7 pick. But anywho, his production has been absolutely abysmal this season. He had the one nice week in week 2 where he went over 100 yards and a touchdown. But the other 3 weeks, it's been, I think he made 50 yards for 3 of the 4 weeks out of the season for the number 1 overall pick in fantasy. It's not going to cut the mustard. Patience, I would guess, would be the way to play Jamar Chase. You're not going to get fair value if you try to trade him. People know why you're trying to trade him, so they're going to give you doo-doo back in return. Your best bet is just, roll him out there. If he can get you 10 to 15 points a week, take it. Take it for what it's worth. Again, if you've drafted well and you built your roster, you should still be able to come out with a few wins, regardless of Chase's production taking a hit with Jake Browning at the helm. There has been some rumblings about a potential trade. I believe it was a Shedeur Sanders rumbling going to Cincinnati. There was a Kirk Cousins rumbling going to Cincinnati. I don't see the Falcons letting go of Kirk Cousins, being that Penix threw out an egg 2 weeks ago. I think they want to keep him there as an insurance policy. Again, in this situation, you got to blame the Browns. There were plenty of serviceable quarterbacks that could have been picked up in the offseason, but they kept Browning, and now they're stuck with him. And good luck to the Bengals Uh, I said last night to a buddy, I don't think they're going to win another game, but let me walk that back. I believe they'll play spoiler late in the season, but their schedule isn't the prettiest. Their division is down this year. Shit, I couldn't tell you who's going to finish last in the AFC North this season. The Browns, pulled off a couple of wins that nobody had them winning. So right now, the Bengals are in the basement with the Ravens, both 1-3. Excuse me, Bengals are 2-2. Ravens are 1-3. Who would have said that shit starting the season coming to week 4? But here we are. So Jamar Chase owners, I feel your pain. I'm in the same boat as you. Again, I would use caution and patience when it comes to Jamar Chase in the upcoming weeks. Again, hopefully he can get you 10 to 15 fantasy points a week to ride the ship, and you should be okay. Moving on, I would say I'm quite disappointed with Brock Bowers' production. I know he had the knee issue in week 2. Geno's just, damn, I don't really know what to make of it. He doesn't seem to target Bowers enough, in my opinion. He's clearly the number one passing option on that team besides Myers. Brock Bowers has cleared 100 yards just once, and I believe that was week 1. I believe he only has 1 touchdown in the season. I have to go back and check the numbers if he has any touchdowns. From where people drafted Brock Bowers, I would have to say at the quarter mark of the fantasy season, I can't say it's not a dud, but would you fault me for saying that it is a dud based on where you drafted him and the type of production you thought you were going to get from Brock Bowers? He was supposed to be a difference maker. I took the cheese. I took Bowers. I got him. I got plenty of shares of Bowers across all of my leagues. I haven't quite reaped the benefits of taking him at the spot that I took him. But again, it's a long season. We're only a quarter of the way through. Hopefully, him and Geno will start cooking sooner or later. It was nice to see Ashton Genty have a solid game. Finally, I know a lot of Genty owners would have been pissed. I warned folks with the rookie running backs that you need to have a little bit of patience. Their time will come. So if you really want to add a side note to week 4, I would say week 4 was the rookie running back week because all of your top rookie running backs had decent games with the exception of Krosky Merritt, who I will discuss a bit later. But Brock Bowers, let's go, buddy. We gonna need more from you. I know it's not your fault. Geno's the one distributing the rock. But yeah, man. Hopefully his production will increase. I would hate to see people panic and trade him early and then he goes off because I've seen it before. Again, patience. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Moving on. Waiver wires. Waiver wires are tonight, and I believe Woody Marks will be the number one waiver wire claim for this week going into the bye weeks. It's been a slow change in the Houston backfield. Chubb started the year as the starter with Joe Mixon not even being available going on the PUP list. And news is that he's still going to be on that list. He will not be activated for week 5. So Woody Marks, I'm not sure if Houston will give him the start, but I believe that timeshare is going to swing more in his favor. You'll see Chubb's carries dwindle, and you'll see Marks' carries increase. His pass catching ability makes him a threat, either through the air or on the ground. He's definitely got the juice. I know Chubb's a little long in the tooth, and after a couple knee injuries, he just doesn't have that same fuel. If Woody Marks is still available in your leagues, I'd be surprised if folks didn't pick him up already. But if he is, hell, put a claim in. You never know, he might fall to you. Another waiver wire claim I see that's going to be high on folks' list will probably be a wide receiver from the Dolphins with a Tyreek Hill injury, and maybe Slayton from the Giants, who is another receiver that is set to have more targets based on injuries. Now, that concludes my presentation as far as week 4 is concerned. That's in the books. we can now start talking about week 5 and what is to come. So let me switch my banner. Switch that out real quick. 1 second. Bear with me. There we go. Nope, not quite. Let's try this one. Nope, not quite. Let's try this one. Nope. How about that one? Nope. How about that one? There we go. Damn it, they get it together. So we are going into week 5. Again, I mentioned this is the quarter mark of the season. There are a shit ton of injuries. Some things that I noticed is we have a few teams that have a conundrum in the backfield. I know one frustrating team would be the Commanders, aka Tutty. I believe Tutty is going to lose that moniker based on what I've seen this year. For some odd reason, they won't play the rookie. They won't play Krosky Merritt. They keep trolling out Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols, who've never done shit in the league. So is it the fact that, Krosky Merritt doesn't know how to pass block? That could be something that's holding him back. But eventually, as you see the other teams, Travion Henderson had his breakout week. Amari Hampton had his breakout week. Asher Genty had it's the week of the rookie running back. So Krosky Merritt was the one that was kind of missing from that. Shit, you can add Woody Marks to that list. Week 4, breakout of the rookie running backs, except Krosky Merritt was missing from that party. He didn't get an invite. So I know the Krosky Merritt Bill owners are a little pissed off and frustrated right now, me being one, because I have plenty of shares of him. Hopefully they figure this shit out sooner or later. Marcus Mariota did a serviceable job filling in for Jaden Daniels. I believe Jaden Daniels will be back starting this week. I'm not quite sure how much he'll be running coming off of a knee injury and being out for 2 weeks. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Another thing to note is shocker of the week is the Giants somehow beat the Chargers when the Chargers looked unstoppable the first 3 weeks of the season, and they came crashing back to earth. That's something that I've become accustomed to when dealing with Justin Herbert. Just when you think he's going to turn the corner, he goes out and lays an egg. I don't really have a reason for it. I mean, you can say the travel, but I mean, at this point, how much credence can you give to travel? These are all professionals. They usually fly in a few days early to adjust for the time change. So I can't even give him that any longer, especially when you had your running back have a breakout game. That's a game you just got to win. So the Chargers did Charger, just like the Viking overseas. If you missed it, Jaylen Warren was out this week. Oh, shit. I didn't even change my banner. My apologies, folks. Hang on 1 second. We'll switch that out because we're talking waiver wire now. There we go. Waiver wire. So if you didn't set your alarm Sunday morning, that was a game that started at 8:30 over in Ireland, Dublin. I had a share of Jaylen Warren. I went to bed thinking he would play. I set an alarm for 8 a.m. to find out he wasn't. By luck, Kenneth Gainwell was still available for me to plug and play. And boy, did he play. 2 touchdowns. I'm going to give him 100 yards. That's bullshit. I think they forgot to count a yard somewhere. But he finished with 99 rushing yards. I believe he had another 40 to 50 yards through the air. Very good output. Filling in for Jaylen Warren at the last minute. That's something to keep an eye on. If Kenneth Gainwell is still available in your league, I'd be surprised. But again, you want to check your waiver wires and see if he is available in case Warren is out again this week. Other notes, Seattle had a interesting performance. Looks like that old Charbonnet guy that I warned you about is happening. Even though Walker has been healthy, he's been running well, Charbonnet has taken a lot of the goal line work. So depending on the type of league you're in, might be something to keep an eye on. If he's going to get all the goal line work, if you're in the standard league, I believe Charbonnet is the one you want to play. Last week, they literally both had 11 fantasy points, and that's in the PPR format. Charbonnet did catch a couple of passes out of the backfield. But yeah, that backfield is going to be interesting to watch as the weeks go on. So you have at least 4, I say, backfield battles you want to keep an eye on. One more note, as I was driving home today, I did hear that Bucky Irvin from the Buccaneers had an MRI on his knee, and so the Bucs have been pretty quiet about that. So if you're a Rachaad White owner, you could be possibly licking your chops because he's going to eat. I'm not even sure who's the back behind Rachaad White. So Rachaad White catches a lot of passes out of the backfield. So he will fill up a stat sheet, especially the way Baker likes to sling it around. Another thing to keep note as you are putting in your waiver claims this evening for week 5. There are, I believe, 5 teams on bye this week. So you want to keep an eye out on that. Penix Jr. back from the dead. Just when you thought he was done skis, he laid an egg against Carolina. So we now see that was an outlier. The real Carolina team did show up. They took it in the pie hole up in New England. Pause. They got the crap beat out of them by the Patriots. And then Penix did their thing. Atlanta won their game, and Penix had a decent game. I believe he threw for like 280 and a couple of touchdowns. So if someone got hasty and dropped Penix, and I understand that the Falcons are on a bye this week, but if you can scoop them up off waivers and just toss them on your bench, you never know what's going to happen, especially when it comes to these bye weeks. So again, check your schedules, check your rosters schedules, and see when they have buys. This is when you need to really pre-plan. Like, you have to look weeks out and start picking up players in advance. Don't wait till the current week and then try to maneuver. Like, you got to do this shit 4 or 5 weeks ahead of schedule. That's a nugget for you. So I did put the link in the chat for those that are tuned in. If you want to join me and just chop it up, if you have a start sit question or any kind of waiver questions, I'm available. Pick my brain. I'll keep this stream up for like another 10 minutes or so. If nobody joins, then I will bid you adieu until next time. So I will be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm looking in the comment section. I actually did have a few questions, so let me respond to those questions. All right, Dylan Finnick, thanks for joining. The question was, there was a trade offer, 0-4, was a Bengals owner, nothing to lose. He said McBride, Chase Brown, McConkey, Golden, or Pearsall. In return, he would get BTJ, Judkins, Travis Kelce, and Franklin. This is a full PPR format. Whew, that's actually a pretty even trade. Brian Thomas Jr. has been an absolute turd this year. And I know I talk about being patient with fantasy, but we're at the quarter mark, and this guy hasn't shown any signs of life. So that's one dud that you would be getting back. Kelce will be another dud. Again, any moment Kelce could have one of those breakout games and then go back to mediocrity. I believe the ride is over for him. He's a serviceable tight end, but the days of him getting 100 yards and 10 catches and 2 touchdowns is over. If you can get 50 yards out of Kelsey and about 5 catches, I would say that's a win. Franklin, I'm not quite sure what to make of him. I understand that him and Nix both went to Oregon, so they have some chemistry, but it's going to be hit and miss with him, right? So, you still got to feed Franklin, and you got two decent running backs. So I know, and then Nix likes to run. So I would say look at the schedules on that trade for each side and see who has the easier schedule, who's got more layup games, right? Where the player's going to go off. And then base your decision off of that, especially when it's a trade this evening. So let's see, we got Brian Thomas Jr. dud, Kelsey dud. So let's see what you're sending out. I would call Chase Brown a dud. So that's dud for dud. McConkey, the problem with McConkey is his name is escaping me. Johnston stepped up this year, so he's cutting into McConkey's targets. I probably would hang on to him because if either Allen gets hurt, which Keenan Allen is injury prone and he's old. If one of those receivers go down, then McConkey's going to eat. I would probably hold on to McConkey. That would be my opinion of that trade. But thank you for the question. Salapsky, he asked, wants to pick a defense for this week. Cleveland, the Rams, KC, Giants, Miami, Houston, or New Orleans. Well, out of that entire group, I would pick 3 defenses, and it'd be the first 3. And it'll probably be in that order. Cleveland probably has the best defense on this list. The Rams have a very, very good defense, and the fact that their offense scores a lot of points makes them better than what they actually are. KC's defense is hit and miss. If the Chiefs don't put up points, then that defense can get exposed, and we found that out early in this year. That's why they came into this week 1 and 3, going into week 4. The Giants have a very good pass rush. I'm not sold on their secondary, so depending on what team they're playing, that would be a good option. Miami, that was an outlier last night. Houston, again, dependent on their offense. They have a very good defense, but if their offense struggles, then that defense is going to be on the field too long. They're going to get exposed. They haven't had as many turnovers the last couple of weeks, but the offense did kind of wake up this week, so that's something to note. So to answer your question, Slavsky, I would go Cleveland, Rams, KC, Houston out of that group of defenses. And then at that point, you can just kind of look at the matchups. And then if you still can't decide out the matchups, just flip a coin. I don't think you can go wrong with either 4 of those defenses. All right. So Appleson. Interesting. Another trade question. Let's see. Who wins this trade? Purdy and Achane, or Benson and Allen? I'm not sure which Allen. Are we talking Keenan Allen? I know we're not talking Josh Allen. Somebody is really considering Josh Allen. You have to question their sanity at this point. So I'm hoping that means Keenan Allen. If you're still in the chat, wow, somebody really wants to trade Josh. Shit. Hurry up and send before they change their mind. Send that shit through like right now. Like, don't even stay on this live stream. Send that shit through right now. I understand that Purdy and Achane are in the trade. Benson's numbers are going to increase. That was his first start last week, so I know the numbers were a little down. He's going against Seattle's defense. Seattle's a top 5 defense. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. Let's see. He also be getting Allen. He owns Caleb Willen and Omarion Hampton. So shit, is this like an 18 league? How the hell did you manage to get all these players? That's a nice assortment of players. I got a buddy that gives me shit about shallow leagues. The problem with shallow leagues is you have too much talent. So week to week, you have a difficult time deciding who to start. So on one end, in a deep league, you don't really have to think about who's starting. You have your starters, and then you have fringe players, depth players. With a shallow league, right? You got studs all through your lineup, so you have a hard time deciding who to play and who not. And you'll be kicking your ass every week because, let's say, every week you keep playing the wrong damn player. You put a starter in, your bench goes off. Then you take your bench player, put him in the starting spot, and he goes off. So each type of league has their own challenge. Oh, fuck, it's a 12-man? Jeez, it must be rookies. But good luck. I hope that trade goes through. I'm not sure if you have vetoes in your league, or do your trades go through automatically, or is there a waiting period for those trades to go through? But either or, I would like to know if you actually pull off that trade. That'd be actually hilarious. But I am out of time. Thank you for tuning in. Good luck with your waiver claims tonight. I will try to be back. I know I didn't make a show on Sunday. My apologies. The Europe game threw me off. Letting you know there is another 8 o'clock game this Sunday, 8:30, from London, Vikings and Browns. So set your alarm clocks now. Check your lineup before you go to bed. Get up maybe 15, 20 minutes before the game starts and make sure there are no late injuries. I'm your host, Dknows, the Fantasy Guru, and I will holler at you guys later. Peace.